Hey y'all, hope you're having a good Sunday and a good weekend. And to everyone who wished me birthday wishes, all the love, thank you so much. It was greatly appreciated and may it be returned to you 1,000 fold. So today this is like a guided topic I wanted to talk about today, and it is like really important, especially with this main transformation going on. I don't know if you guys have noticed it. Like, it's reality is literally changing right around us, and it's a lot going on in the sky right now. That's how you know it's just getting to that point. But I have something that I want to talk about, and it was two things that are real good to request from your higher self, because that will give you all of the insight and behind the scenes on all the traumas, challenges, everything you've gone through. Now, the first one, which I going inward, well, actually, the first one is asking your higher self to start showing you your pre-birth planning sessions. And I'm going to talk about that one. But the second one is a quicker one. Well, I'm not going to say quicker one, but it's probably more, it's not as, well, it is in depth, but they're different. I'll show you why. And the second one is like when you just want deeper understanding or why something happened, you direct their question inward to your higher self. Like if it's a trauma you went through, you ask them, why did I have to experience this? And that usually comes to you through meditation. It could come, mine came to me with daydreaming, because after, karmic relationships, I knew my heart. So I directed the question inward. I was like, why do I keep ended up in, attracting and bringing in these type of relationships? And that's what it was shown to me about the blocked chakras that resulted from trauma from childhood. Now, I had already started my spiritual journey and was doing like had just started doing a chakra clearing, but that was so deep rooted, embedded, and a part of my subconscious program. So that kept, as long as that program is still running in your mind, you're going to keep creating that. So I found that out during just asking. But the first one I mentioned, your pre-birth planning session, that is actually where all your soul contracts are drawn out. So I didn't know what to expect when I had did this, but I had requested that from my higher self. I want to see my pre-birth planning session, because I had been through some mess, like from starting really young, and I wanted to know why. And I would say it was so vivid, it was almost like it wasn't a dream, but you would literally be taken there to another dimension, to these sessions, because they're meetings. They're like a series of meetings where your chart and your soul contracts are put together. And when it first happened, the first week, I was excited about it, but for 3 weeks straight, I cursed myself out all day, every day for choosing that, because of what I saw. You just had to be prepared for what you see if you ask to be taken to your pre-birth planning session. Because with mine, it was weird all of a sudden, because it was two beings with me. It seemed like they were kind of cloaked. I couldn't see them, but I knew that they were the ones who took me there so I can get there safely and brought me back. But I was just in a corner in a really large room, and they were standing on side of me. And on the other side of the room, it was me and like at least probably like 8 other beings in the room. I don't remember seeing anybody's face. I just remember seeing me at the table. And one thing that I kind of remember, it was a really large table, but the table was just like a large block that was illuminated, and it had like a graph that went across. almost like a graph. And I saw the point where I was sitting in front of, it's like the graph went down. It was like a big dip down. So I was sitting there, or standing in the corner, watching me sitting there at this table with all the beans. So I started listening to what they were saying. And a lot of the stuff I had already experienced. That's where I had kind of got like, what the hell are you doing? I was literally, me and the beans were literally all the traumatic experiences I had went through. We were actually sitting there discussing like kind of where to place it. Okay, if this goes right here, with such and such happen right here, well, maybe we need to put this right there. And it was like all this traumatic stuff I went through. So to see me actually the one planning that mess, it's like the only way I can say it, I was looking at me just sprinkling on struggles. So I was like, why am I, what the hell? So I had like just blurted out, what the hell are you doing? But of course nobody could hear me, and since time is linear, it probably was a fruit fly in the corner. But anyway, I was the one, everyone, it was real strategic, because with your pre-birth planning sessions, that is done with your soul group and more advanced, your elders, spiritual elders. And we're actually placing everything was planned. And when it happened, it was supposed to happen. And I just remember that graph and where I was, like right where the dip was. I think that's where we were putting a lot of stuff along that line, and what would happen to cause this and what would happen to cause that, all to be on the path. Like I said, for the first week, I was like, well, you know what? I must, you don't get more than you can handle. And I'm like, well, hell, if they thought I could handle this, well, that's not bad. But that only lasts a week. And like for 3 weeks, I was like hella hard on myself, because every day I was like, you stupid bitch. Like, why would you, plan all that? But it was supposed to happen. That's why I was playing like that. And then I was reminded of something that I had went through. Now, I just talked about like the first time I tried to unalive myself. I just talked about that in what video was that? The main sign of a karmic, a toxic mother that swept under the rug. In that video, I really talked about what happened when I tried to unalive myself. But after that, I had to go to therapy. Of course, I got sent to a psychiatrist. So actually on the way there, and I was only 12 years old. So on the way to the appointment, I was actually a little optimistic and a little hopeful. I said, well, maybe finally I have somebody that I can talk to. So I went there thinking like, well, hopefully I'll find somebody that I could talk to. But when I got there, now the lady, she was really nice. I never forget, she was like, had to be at least like 7 or 8 months pregnant. She looked like she was almost ready to go. But I remember her office being really large, and her office literally looked like a living room with a desk in it. I mean, she went to great lengths to make this office as comfortable as possible. She had plants everywhere, had the little living room, had the little love seat, the little matching chair, the little coffee table set, and she just had plants everywhere. I just remember pictures everywhere. And it was real cozy. It was like, and she was really sweet, and she was really, really nice. And she had so many pictures that were everywhere. Like I said, her office literally looked like a family room. So I was looking at the pictures, and she had a son and a daughter also. And she had pictures from her childhood, everything to make it look like home. And her life was so happy. She had her parents, she had pictures like with her kids, her husband, the dog. and her parents, her in-laws, everyone. It was such loving, relationships and bonds. And I'm just looking like, wait a minute, And then she had pictures like when she was younger, and it was just so much love. She had mother and mother-in-law and family. Everyone was just so close because you could just, and I was sitting there looking around. And the more I looked around, the more I shut down. And I finally said, this woman's life is full of love. I said, she's not going to understand. She's not going to get me. Nobody else gets me. And by me seeing all this happiness, for me, 12-year-old me, that just made me shrink. And I literally just hunched over with my head down, and I literally would not say one word to that woman. She tried everything. She unplugged the phone and everything to get me to talk. But after I saw how happy and joyful her life had been, I said, I can't talk to anybody else. I definitely can't talk to her. She's not going to be able to relate to this. I shut down, wouldn't talk. And since I literally wouldn't open my mouth, I think that was the first and the last time. And not long after that, I found a crutch. I started drinking and smoking. And that led into, I think that's the part really on my chart where I saw kind of one of the big dips take place. So I found a crutch. So I never forget once, several years back, I had asked myself, I was like, because this is when I really started doing the work. And I said, if I would have felt comfortable and would have been able to open up to her and get the help and get the counseling that I need, I was like, that could have really changed my entire life and would have, what would have been 20 years after that, 20 years of chaos. I was like, all of that could have been avoided. Possibly, I'm like, could all of this been avoided? And then that's where I got an immediate download. It was not supposed to be avoided. That was my path, because this was after I had even saw my birth chart, because the first time I got my birth chart 25 years ago, I was young. It said in my birth chart that my life wouldn't start to balance out until I was middle aged. Now, I wasn't trying to hear that in my 20s, because I got kind of pissed off in my chart. I was like, you mean that? Oh, no, we got to keep doing it? I was like, But I wasn't supposed to. Things happen the way they were. Because in order, if your path is to really help other people, you're a light worker and you're supposed to help other people, you're supposed to do healing work, you have to be able to heal yourself and get yourself out the trenches before you can do it with somebody else. And that's when I realized, because at first I was mad, I was like, well, dang, if I could have opened up to her, then I could have avoided all of this. But I wasn't supposed to avoid all of that. All of that was supposed to happen. That's why I initially got kind of mad at myself when I asked to be taken to that pre-birth planning session, and I kind of just wasn't prepared for what I saw, that me and my team were the one who planned everything. That's for growth. Earth is a school. Those are your tests. Plus, if you are called, if you're supposed to help other people, to ought to really be able to relate with people, you have to have been through that yourself. And that's how people grow. Because when you learn lessons like that down here, your stock goes up in the spiritual realm. That your rank goes up. And that's the only thing that's important, basically, is your spiritual rank. And that's how you learn. That's how you grow. Because I saw a quote once, and I was like, whoa, okay. And it was like, in order for a seed to grow, it has to be buried and covered in dirt. And I was like, okay, well, that's a word. but everything made sense. So those things, especially now with these transitions coming up, it's real good to tap into your higher self and ask them if you want like specific, details on certain things. Ask why this happened, why I had to experience that. Because trust me, you ask, you're going to get an answer. And like I said, most of mine, even some came through meditation, but the biggest downloads I got with that were simply from daydreaming. That's why I say don't, count daydreaming out, because I get so much sitting looking at a wall or something like that. Anything. But especially for the real deep, so you can actually see, because that's how it was with me. I was taken there. And you will be escorted to your pre-birth planning session. Just don't get mad at yourself, because if you holler at yourself, that higher version of yourself, they're not gonna hear you. That's like a fruit fly. If a fruit fly was trying to tell you something, you wouldn't hear it either. So just I think at the end, you kind of feel some type of way, like, man, that was traumatic. Why would I do that? But that's for growth. And like I said, so many people don't know it, but they already have predestined careers, successful projects. And I get that all the time, especially with books. Some people, your books are supposed to actually turn into films, into movies. It's so many things. It didn't happen for like nothing. If you went through a lot of traumatic experience, especially if you had if you grew up with a karmic family and a karmic household, then your purpose is